Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 57th episode of the HSBG Podcast. I'm your host, Educatedcollins, and I'm here with my constant co-host, Shady Bunny. Shady, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Collins, as usual. How are you this week?
I'm good. You see how I switched up the... Nah, never mind. I'm okay. It's been, I don't know. It's been a regular week. I don't know how to describe this week, right? Besides all, the new meta nonsense and, the Naga forcing meta and all that. But, generally, it's the start of a season. Everyone's playing. Everyone's trying to climb. And this is, the fourth time it's happening, right? Or... Well, maybe not. Maybe that's not true. This is the second time, actually, right? Since the reset, because we had the initial one, and then this is the new reset where everyone's fresh and then trying to climb again. So
you can make the argument that this might be the actual first one where
everyone is aware. I see what you're
aware, and there's been this Lobby Legends is a thing, right? It's been running right for 2 editions, and the third one we're going to play the qualifier. So I think this is the first proper the gates are open, right? And
so you're saying you're saying this is the first one where everyone is tryharding, right? Essentially, and there won't be excuses, right? I would say, because I remember the first one, people were complaining oh, they didn't tell us, or how can there only be 2 weeks before we to grind up, right? Pretty much everyone that's tryharding is aware that Lobby Legends exist, and they're trying to push for it. I've seen a lot of people play a lot and push and have that in their titles and stuff like that. So I do think that's true. This might actually just be the first from a reset, the first one where almost everyone, almost every streamer is trying to hit this, or looking as a possibility. Maybe not trying, but aware that I could do this if the situations match up. So that is kind of true.
It's more competitive, the first push. Yeah. But on the no excuses thing, I feel like if you're the person that makes excuses, you're gonna make excuses, right? Where but Nagas were OP and there was lag, and 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 if you're the person that doesn't make excuses, you were already pushing last time.
That's true. I don't make excuses for myself, right? So
we don't want to make excuses.
Yeah. I can't even see it. I agree. If I lose the game, and it's I just threw somewhere. That's how.
That's how we roll. It's beneficial overall. It can be a little harsh sometimes.
Yes, sure, but it's justified harshness. You learn from it. You try to not create those situations ever again. But I hear what you're saying. For sure, it's definitely more serious, I would say, on average, compared to maybe the first reset timing. So I've just been playing, on and off stream, whatever, just trying to understand the meta. The meta before the patch was kind of, we're gonna talk about it, right? But I had my opinions, and you probably did as well. But it's been interesting, and now that the patch has changed, hopefully. It's only been a day, so it's kind of hard to really know, but we do have our own generalizations of what things have changed because of the meta, the patch change. So we'll definitely talk about it. But we pretty much always talk about our weekly overview. We're kind of doing that already, and I've had a decent time. I'm sure you've had your own experiences as well.
Yeah, you want to go first, or
I've kind of already went.
All right. That's the short version. Fine. Honestly, I was really surprised actually at how fast I was picking things up, because I usually am a lot slower. But I think it's because the meta was somewhat linear.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Or at a surface level, at the very least, right? At the very least, at the surface.
Even at the highest levels, it's pretty linear, Shady.
Yeah. So I was actually pleasantly surprised. I was oh, I'm actually doing all right. Now I had a small setback. It was 2 days. Yesterday maybe. My power went out, and then I was top 8 it, and then I came back, and then I got another 2 bad games or whatever. So yeah, that's 2 days of your week gone. So
yeah, I know.
Yeah, it happens, right? Whatever. Like I said, no excuses, right? I played those games. So the right now I'm more just enjoying learning, which is way better just for me mentally and my stream. Just
Right.
if I'm a little bit too much on edge because I feel like I need to get points, then I'm not gonna learn properly, and I'm not going to be a good person on stream or be an enjoyable person on stream.
Yeah.
So that was super fun for me, just really throwing stuff at the game and saying, okay, what happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? So that was fun. So overall, I'm having a good time experimenting. I've now loaded up on VODs where I'm watching other people play and I'm seeing what they're doing. So excited to just go back tomorrow in the field, right, testing it out because we've got a tournament coming up. We're going to talk about it later, but
Yeah.
we've got like 2 more days, I think, right?
It's on
You get
Monday, I believe.
yeah, so you got 2.5 days, I
And a
guess, right?
half, maybe. Yeah.
So to practice and
It
figure
starts
out
at 3 a.m. for me. I have no
that.
idea how I'm gonna like.
Yeah,
I'm not set up for that.
that's a tricky one. Yeah, I mean,
So maybe I
it
just
is
have
on
to
the Asia
sleep
server, so
early.
I feel like a lot of people
Yeah,
are
yeah,
just
I know. A lot of the NAEU people are probably just gonna like brain off it and just
yeah,
hope.
they're gonna go there. They're gonna see like, hey, do I high roll? If I high roll, cool. If I
Cool.
didn't high roll,
Yeah,
whatever.
whatever. Yeah.
I think a lot of people are gonna bring that mentality, right? When they say, fuck it, it's 3 a.m. I'm playing on the Asia server. Give me some good cards, Bob, or I'm just gonna get out of here in the first round. So yeah,
I agree. I agree.
I think that is definitely going to be a mentality that's not unique to one person in, in that tournament. So yeah, I mean, TLDR for my week has been cool. Patch was interesting. We'll talk about the patch, and then yeah, just enjoying learning now. Like Blizzard has already adjusted one time. We'll see if they adjust again
Not
in the
before
near
the
future.
qualifiers, that's for sure.
No, please, God, no.
Yeah, don't touch it anymore.
I would have been okay with no nerf before the qualifiers either, where I could
Really?
play that.
I did. I would like a nerf.
Well, you learn faster than I do, right? Like I said,
Sure. I guess
for
that's
me,
true.
yeah. So yeah, purely from a selfish, competitive point of view, I would rather play a patch that I'm on longer because I know.
It was
Yeah.
hilarious. The last day of the patch, I was like, "Oh man, what if the meta's like so different?" And I don't know what to do. Like right now, I was just forcing Naga as it was working. I was like, there's like a little bit of me that was like, maybe this is fine. Like it's one dimensional,
Yeah.
only Nagas, but maybe that's okay. Like I know how to do it. But like after playing yesterday, I was like, this is healthier. Like it was hard to argue that this isn't healthier. So yeah, I was like, all right. I saw more than Nagas, but yeah. Moving on, I think the first thing we will be talking about is the Lobby Legends, right? Because that did happen the day after the last podcast, right? So we hadn't really talked about it. We kind of had our speculations of, the meta would be Naga centric, and it was, right? I would say. Me and Shady, we duoed. We went through the whole tournament and we pretty much co-casted it together, most of it. A little bit at the end of day one and a little bit at the end of day two. Shady had to sleep, apparently. Can you believe it? But pretty much we kind of talked and chatted about the whole tournament, kind of our opinions of it, and I thought it was pretty fun. It's on the YouTube. If you do watch this on the podcast and you kind of know what our thoughts are, right? The meta has changed now, so it might not be super relevant, but it's still kind of interesting just to see how we think about this idea, this decision there, especially when you have like two high level players talking about the game. It's very different than the mainstream, right? Where they're definitely good players in their own right? But they're not like Lobby Legends qualifiers that are just chatting about the game, right? It's a very different dynamic there. So if you like that kind of stuff, you can check the YouTube and see if you want to take a look at that. But day one, we had Lobby 1A, kind of 4 games in, and it was between Yanase, Alucard, Soa King, Zixo, Roger, Bofer, YJS. I called him YJSMR, but SJMR and Kid, and Yanase, Alucard, Soa King, and Zixo did make it to the finals. Any thoughts? It's been a while since we talked about it, but like, do you have anything you remember, anything specific about it, or that, or not?
Yeah, well, I mean, what we covered specifically, like Bofer's last game, the Mutinous game, but
Right.
I don't know if you want to like single out one player, right, if we're talking about it.
We didn't like that game from him. Like, I mean, that's sometimes rough to do, right? I think he needed to top 4, right, to make it in.
Yes, from what I remember, or at least around that, right? He had
in
a
4th place, I think, yeah, and he
he had a solid. He had 2nd place on a second game. Did get a 2.5 in the first game. Yeah, looks like that. Yeah, no. Overall, the we saw sort of what we expected, where especially in the first games, there were a lot of people going very aggressively for the 6 drops and then seeing if they hit the Tender or the Atissa. But we also saw a fair amount of tempo gaming, but we saw that more towards game 2, game 3, when people were already, like they say, okay, I just need to not do horribly here
and not die.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that, like we saw, I think Yanase was such a tempo game.
Yes. He was. I agree. He sticks out.
Yeah, but here's also another thing. Like they were playing on the EU server, right? So if Yanase actually had like, as bad of connection as we're about to have on the Apex server, then I can completely understand why he's like, just give me a Daryl, give me a Greybill, don't give me any of this APM Naga bullshit. I don't want to do that, man. Just, like let me just play some nice mid-range stuff. So I don't know if it's that or if he's just like, very, I like doing my thing. Give me my 3rd, give me my 2nd. I'm playing for that. I'm not doing any of this Naga stuff. But yeah, that Yanase did stick out with a lot of tempo picks and options, like a lot of Darreling from him.
Yeah. There were like two players that really jumped into that. I mean, also lobby B, right? We had All Dragon, Jag, Unse, Japido, Mark 6, Oraf, Kiyomi, Babelfett, and Sisyphus. I'm gonna say the last Sisyphus. I hope that's more pronounced. And
I think that's Greek mythology.
I don't know. Don't ask me about that. I'm not familiar too much. But All Dragon Jag, I'm gonna say the Peter and Mark 6 made it to the finals. So I do think like All Dragon in this the first day like really stuck out, right? His last game was 2nd place with like Tempo Mechs with Greybill. It was really cool to see. Like you love that kind of stuff. You didn't see. I think you went to bed before that, but you would have loved that game actually.
Wait, which player was on the
All
game?
Dragon. He picked Greybill, went like full mechs and like tempoed people out with that.
Just with tanks or just eggs and shit?
It was like Khadgar. You would have loved the Khadgar.
Oh Lord, yes. Okay.
Hey, he had like a gas curler Khadgar as well. Like it was just like you.
That's about a field day. It was like, oh, your board is like 2 sirens and some trash because you're trying to triple into a Tissa. Bam, take 15, right? Yeah, I can absolutely see him.
Yeah, so here's another one that I felt really was doing really well was the Pedo. He was more tempo as well, like I would say, where he wanted to just like get some points, and just a lot of good placements from him too. So those were the ones that made it in, and we had the final lobby as well, where I felt like this second final lobby was very different than day one. Where it really felt like people were like, oh, I guess I don't have to play Nagas every time, right? And you saw more people. You also started to see Beasts in the lobby, where Beasts weren't in like the first day at all.
Beasts were, yeah. We were memeing where someone behind the scenes rigged where they're just because I was hyping Beasts up before the tournament.
The whole time.
I said like we're probably gonna see 1 maybe 2 people going Beast and maybe they even top 2, maybe some tempo mech action and all that. The tempo mech stuff we saw because it was in, but the Beast stuff we didn't see because it was bad the whole time. So I was just like, oh my god, like I wanted to see if they would do it, and it makes so much sense when you're in that kind of a setting where you have 8 extremely capable players. You can't build 8 good Naga boards, right? The game doesn't support that. So yeah, someone's got to do something, and if no one's gonna budge, that means you're gonna have 2 or 3 almost instant top 8s because they're getting nothing. So yeah, you gotta be a little bit more flexible. And then some heroes just can do the 6-rep thing a lot better. You're playing a Hook Dusk, you're playing an Omu or whatever. They get paid to level or they can make some money on the side. You playing some random hero, it's just less likely you're gonna hit the nuts than if you're playing a hero that's good at tripling.
I played Vandar
Oh,
with the
okay.
10 armor, and I won that.
Yeah,
game.
I get it.
I just I'll just take damage level to 5. Okay, I have my comp. 10 armor saved me. I never used the hero power, and it was enough.
Oh, you used the hero power.
Right? But it didn't do anything. It really didn't do anything. It was very pointless.
No, I feel you there. I got a nice second place Rokara myself, or she has a hero power that does something. But I was like, yeah, let's go Rokara.
But the second day, kind of interesting. There were a lot more decisions that could have differed. I would say that's the nice way of putting it. In this one, when we were watching it, where I was like, oh, we could have done something else here, and maybe that would have been better. But it's so hard to understand the meta 3 days into a change and there were some bugs or things that don't feel weird, like the Wind Fury bug. I think that was big, right?
Let's take a moment to talk about that. Yeah. So what exactly happened, Collins, with the Wind Fury?
So one of the players, I think it was Jag Unse or somebody. One of the players had a Foe Reaper, and what they did, there was a Anoro module. They put all their buffs on the Anoro module, including the Wind Fury buff on that Anoro, and then they bought the card with the Wind Fury buff, and they put it on their Foe Reaper. But even though they put the Anora module that had Wind Fury on their Foe Reaper, during the fight, the Foe Reaper didn't have the Wind Fury. So it just didn't transfer over to the Foe Reaper. And that cost him the fight. And if he got the Wind Fury buff, he would have won that fight for sure. He wouldn't have died there. And that would have changed the game dramatically. So that's not a bug I think they played with or knew that would happen, right? Just because it's been so little games, right? You're not in that situation that often, and there's no practice tool to really practice these interactions. And just a mistake, right? If you knew, you wouldn't do it. It's just a mistake. And it cost them a lot of points, and it also people didn't take damage, people lived, and now you fight a ghost. Right? It's definitely game changing. That situation happened. So, yeah.
That has been patched out since then. Where
it was Yanse, okay. Oh, Yanase.
The buffs that you put on. So for those of you who didn't know, when Nagas were released, if you would put Naga buffs on magnetic units and then magnetize them, the stats component would become permanent. So you put shoals and archers with damage and +1/+1 or whatever on a module, boom, you get a big foe. Because you might say, well, why did he put the Wind Fury on the module then? Because the Wind Fury comes with +1/+1 and he wanted to make the +1/+1 permanent.
Yeah.
And there was no reason to believe that the Wind Fury wouldn't transfer over because anytime you magnetize and there's something on it, like a Divine Shield or a Taunt, it comes with. So I think that was just not properly coded or whatever.
Yeah, I just don't think it was properly coded for sure.
But they did say that it was a bug where they weren't.
But the bug is the stat transfer, not that you lose the Wind Fury completely.
That's true. Because you are supposed to be able to put buffs on magnetics and then magnetize, right? But yeah, either way, that was heartbreaking to watch. Because
it was so sad to watch. Yeah,
because we were waiting for the Foe Reaper second swing. I was like, what? Oh no, it's not going again. Yeah, and another thing that stood out that I remember was where I believe it was a Scabs who was going up against a tier 1 Daryl, chose to slam a 5-drop instead of holding.
Oh yes, oh yeah, that was very.
we both cringed at that. We were like, "Oh, don't do it!
Get the
No.
5. Yes, it's a tier 1 Daryl. Like you can take 4 damage. It's fine.
That was a painful moment to watch for. I mean, who knows, right? Maybe they were trying to do something we didn't know. But from our point of view, there, it really felt like that was a free shot at a good 6. And they didn't take it.
I mean, and sometimes, I mean, I know for sure when you're playing these games, you feel pressured. You think your opponents are stronger than they are.
Everyone is a house at all times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You're always thinking like, "Who? They have everything. They have everything." And they're like, "Oh, they're just regular players. Their shops are pretty much the same as mine." So
it's always interesting to see that and look from the outside perspective. Because when you're in there, like you don't have that bird's eye view, right? And you always like
we have that caster vision. We have that. We have it easy there.
Your favorite mistake is Odd Dragon. I remember that.
Oh, it's painful.
It was so
I
sad.
was actually running with that. We're like, Odd Dragon's thinking about something here. I was like, oh no, he facepalmed. Yeah, he just fucked up. Okay,
I was like, nah, this is a mistake. What are you doing?
Mistake for sure. But I was thinking maybe he's assuming that he wants like a brute or something, right? And use the coin for that. Because he was Galacron.
It's hilarious. I was like, oh, Odd Dragon got Galacron, he can win. And I saw him sell it. I was like, all right, I take that back now. You're like, no, it's fine.
I think he still came like second or so that game, right? He top 4.
I think he got 4th, right? He recovered it or something.
Dropped pretty low. I think he got all the way to 2 or to 5 or something. I was like, oh man, that's because that is definitely a mental thing. So I'm not sure if we even said what the mistake was, but they played a shell.
Naga,
Odd Dragon played a shell collector, and then wanted a gold to use the hero power on turn 1 as Galacron. And the muscle memory of selling the Elemental or selling the Alleycat is probably so strong that he sold the shell collector instead of coining. And he's just looking at it for a few seconds, and then there's a face palm. I was like, I can't believe I just sold my
in front of the camera. They're watching you too.
Yeah, he doesn't know the camera's on. Right?
I know.
But he's in probably at that point the most important tournament he's ever played, and he's sitting there like, I can't believe I sold my 3-1. So yeah, you can really see the pressure in combination with that muscle memory of he's done that hundreds of times, like sell my Elemental for my F hero power, sell my bacon for a barrel of hero power, right? This coin thing is new, where you get the money in your hands. We've only had that for at that point a few days. It's really muscle memory of like, I want money, I sell something, right? Yeah. So but he's probably not doing that again.
The whoever was the director was very good at like picking people who are about to make mistakes.
I think it was Lorinda on the camera, so we gotta thank Lorinda for that.
Very, very good at that. Very targeted. Like, oh yeah, this guy, he can mess up here. Let's go watch it.
Oh, you're about to take a 5-drop, man. I can feel it.
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, it was pretty cool. A lot of different. What I always like about watching tournaments like this, you can see people's styles. Where you like some players like to go full tempo, some players like to play full greed, some people like to pop off really hard at these moments and like then play safe the other times if they don't have some people feel comfortable with one hero to do something very risky, but they play the hero so much that it's like, fine, I'll just do everything in one turn and salvage this like crazy game. That's what I'd like to do. But it's always cool to be like, oh yeah, this guy did that or this guy did that, and I got to see that, and I thought the final like game was pretty interesting, where 3 people were in check, and you saw like all those 3 people picked high roll heroes, and everyone else is playing like full tempo heroes. Like, I'll just try to knock them out before that, and then I believe all 3 of them shot for a 6 super early. Right, and I believe Odd Dragon got pulled 2 6s. He needed a Naga, he didn't get it, and then Mark 6 also pulled 2 6s or something like that, got the Nagas, And
Got
if
the Naga.
Odragon got the Naga instead of him, he ends up winning that tournament. It's actually so crazy how much of a swing that decision made. But I mean that's more a testament of the meta, where it's very like one dimensional. You get your shot, you don't make it, now you have to salvage, and then the other person got their shot, they hit it, they won, right, the tournament. So that's like maybe the issue of this tournament, right? It's gonna feel a little bit weird because like watching it myself and maybe them playing it, they're gonna be like, I didn't really get to showcase the most of my skill or my abilities or my style here, and that might feel a little bit bad. But I mean, it was still a good tournament in terms of like just watching people play it out and trying to compete. So that was fun. But I do think like I would have preferred a healthier meta to watch overall, because it was like Nagas won almost every lobby, right? Like it wasn't. I don't think there was a non-Naga victory in that tournament. So it just feels super weird, right? Like there's 5 different minion types and the one just wins every time. Like, and it got to a point. It got to a point where like there was like 2 Naga players and like 2 non-Naga players in the top 4, and we just like completely ignored the Naga players and just watched the non-Naga players duke it out for third. And then it's like, oh yeah, the other guy got one shot, and all right, now they won, and then we just move on, right? Like that's really how it felt. Like, oh yeah, the non-Naga players, oh that's interesting, and then the Naga player wins, and like, all right, let's move on, that kind of thing. But yeah, congratulations to Mark Sick, who ends up winning the whole tournament. Well done on him. Really capitalized on his games and that final game as well with the Crag, right? That's not a hero I think a lot of people would pick there, but really understood this game plan. I need a high roll to win the lobby, right? It doesn't matter if I get second, I need to win. So let's go for the high roll hero. Does get the hits and was able to pull through from there. It was kind of funny because Raven came on near the end of it after you left to kind of talk about it. And I didn't look at the VOD time, and I really thought there was another game. And he wasn't like spoiling it. So I was like looking at him. He had like this insane Naga board. And then there was like the other 2 people, like someone had like Scam Beast and someone had like a weaker Naga comp. And I was like, there's no way he loses. and Raven's like, oh, well, maybe. I mean, who knows? And I'm just like, there's no way, right? And then I watch him like kill another guy. And then it's just like his with the insane Naga and the other Naga. I'm like, is there really another game? There's no way he loses. And I'm just like, what happens? And I'm just like, I can't see it. And then he just kills him. Like, and then Raven's like, yeah, it's over. I was like, oh, okay. I just got the time wrong. I thought there was another game. I was sure, but I just got that wrong. So yeah, he just like dominated at the end and took the victory. So definitely congratulations to him there.
Yeah, the victories were very dominant. Probably the most dominant we've seen. I mean, it's the 2nd edition, so yeah, it's definitely the most dominant victories we've in terms of just the boards, right? At how not close it was.
Well, I mean, that's more due to the meta, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. No, that's entirely up to the meta. Well, maybe not entirely, but almost entirely up to the meta. We did see some strong boards last edition, where especially that last game where Be Nice just fished all the dongs out of the pool early and was really. I
could have won that game. I messed that up. Yeah.
Could you have won, or could you have done better? I'm sure you've gone over it many times.
I think I could have won that game, actually.
Did you also see how early at it? Like he was really taking all the dongs out of the pool.
I think I could have done it.
All right. Well, I mean, the board itself was pretty.
But let's ignore it. It's over. It's been.
Just saying that even though we had like those Amalgadon boards, games and finals in particular were far closer. Top 4s and top 2s were much closer than in this tournament. In this tournament, we could see it coming very early. We're like, these 2 players have a shot, and then this guy wins. Okay,
we kind of skipped like the last 3-4 fights. Like as soon as we got to top 4, like everything was already decided most of the time. So we just kind of skipped to the end. Like it's like, oh, this guy won. He has Nagas. Okay, let's move on. And that feels bad, right? Because I think a lot of the cool things about late game BGs is being able to like play around your opponent, counterplay. Oh, they have this. Let me look for this, get this. They're playing this composition.
Selfless
Yeah.
positioning,
Zap, I
which
need that.
is a bit of a shame because we have probably more tech tools now than ever before with Manted Queen, Leroy,
Sure.
right? We still have our Selfless. We have glow scales, right? There's a lot of things to talk. But if your opponent is twice your size or bigger, it
Doesn't matter.
Really yeah, you can tech all you want. It's not gonna happen.
Tech has I kill you. You playing looking for tech. I'm playing huge stats on every minion with Divine Shield. You just got nothing out of it.
Yeah, pretty. But hey, it's nerf now, so what's our next topic, Collins?
Here we'll be talking about the Naga Prepatch. Just kind of that's how we've played most of this week on the Prepatch, right? The patch came yesterday. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? I think it was yesterday, right? Thursday. It came on Thursday, yeah. So it came yesterday. But pretty much I would say pre-patch, right? It's just like force Nagas or scam or sometimes Murlocs or die. Like I've seen some high roll Murlocs. I've also seen some high roll Quillbores, but that's if everyone whiffs. Like there are some games where everyone whiffs, and then like it's like a weird fiesta of like, there's actually no Naga player, and then like someone what ends up happening is someone just like forces Nagas anyways, and it's like a lot weaker and slower, but then they still win. Like, it's so sad, right?
Because they're looking around like, really? No one? I guess. I mean, it's too late, right? But yeah,
I'll do it.
Man, my board is bonkers in one turn. Let's go. That's kind of how it happens. Yeah, everybody has a reasonable board, and then you get the sirens kicking overdrive, like the board's just running away with the stats.
Yeah, so I mean, this has been like one of the more like streamlined, one-dimensional metas, right? Where I said it kind of reminded me of Floating Watcher meta, and you said it reminded you of the Doomsayer on 3 meta.
Yeah, where you really have like one minion in mind, or in this case maybe 2 minions, right? You're going for those 2 minions, and everything else is significantly weaker. Although I will say that I definitely had some different experiences in the last few days of the meta.
Yeah. The meta was like kind of evolving, but it still needed to be changed, right? Like regardless of the evolving of the meta, it still needed to change.
It was especially, I think, in the lower levels, it was probably more frustrating to people because they probably just don't have the knowledge to deal with this. They also don't have the volume that we have. So like my day 1 and my day 2 was pretty much 100% Naga because maybe not 100%, but like very, very high percentage. Whereas I think my last few days were like 30%, where I would only play it if I was high rolling.
For me, it depends if I was having a good day or not. If I was a good day, 100% Naga every time. Just give me that. Not a good day. I guess I have to salvage these games. I guess I'm playing these other comps. But
I think
I wanted the Nagas. Like I'm not trying to force scam. Like give me the Naga, and then I don't get it. Okay, fine. Guess I'll play something else. Whatever.
I was very happy playing Sephon. Like I remember killing a Naga player from full health with my poison comp, where I had gold.
There were some games where I beat the full tempo Naga playing like some type of like scam or poisons, and that felt so satisfying, right? Like, this guy has like 300 Nagas. He's ghoul, poisons, your things are gone. I give my shields back from Selfless. You died? Oh, you have 400 stats now? Oh, you still died? It's like, get out of my game. I had this so satisfying game. I was playing Lich King with Reborn Leroy. I ran Khadgar. And with Leroy, it's Khadgar. And the Leroy kills Awa. It's like so beautiful. And it felt so satisfying to win that game. Like
did you kill him in one go or not?
No, I killed him in 2 goes.
So he didn't find the Ghoul Baron then, because that fries your whole board, right?
No. I played a Chalga. throughout the whole game.
Okay, you
So
pumped them.
everything was pumped. Yeah, you couldn't scam me. It was such a beautifully done game. I finished that game and I was like, yeah, good job. I was like, that was well done. It was so beautiful.
Get out of here, Naga player.
I didn't stream it, but it was I was very proud of that game. Afterwards, I was like, good job, you know. Yeah, I had a really fun Lich King game there. But other than that, you know, it's few and far between, right? Usually you just die to the Naga players, but yeah, there were some other alternatives for sure.
Well, I think that a lot of players were, especially because it was new, they were not prepared for being contested. They were just pumping, right? They were just, okay, let me just get more spellcraft. If anything, they were trying to protect themselves with divine shields. But if, you know, the comp I ran a lot in the last 2 days was what you mentioned, where you play your Baron, you play your Ghoul, you play your Selfless and 4 poisons. And that beats almost any regular Naga board.
Right, yep.
Yeah, you remove their shields, and then you have 4 units versus their 7. And you win. So
I played a game yesterday where that was my board, right? And he just didn't know what to do. I was like, it's like they have the nuts, and they're like, there's no one beats me, right? There's nothing they can, and they just like, oh wait, I lost. Like what does that mean? Like I don't know what to do. I lost. Like I have 300 stat Nagas. What I'm supposed to win here?
I can't believe I then just automatically win here.
Yeah,
I think we did see a lot of players there with, you know, they're put in this first place position, and yeah, they're not thinking how can I lose. They're just making their things bigger. Now, if you guys find yourself in that position and you don't know what to do, if somebody's trying to poison scam you, essentially they're just checking, like, do you know how to stop this? No? Good. Then I'm going to kill you. So the way how you stop it depends a little bit on...
Why are we telling people this?
Because it's an well, first of all, the people we're playing against, they know, right?
They know, that's true.
Right? So it's just, you know, and we're an informational podcast. We want people to...
I've never said that about this podcast.
All right. My contribution to the podcast is educational. All right. So it depends a little bit on how big the Murlocs are. If the Murlocs are small, you have to actually have it quite easy. You just are like 2 reborn coilers or something, right? Just like tokens, just shit all over the poison and the shields. It's really good. If the Murlocs are bigger, then especially when you're playing Nagas, you can quite easily make like a Wind Fury Cleave or just your own golden reborn coiler if you're spending your money for that. But you have to start thinking in terms of how many divine shields does this counter. So just like running 2 cleaves or so to get rid of like a small cleave to get rid of the shields, and then a bigger cleave to get rid of the actual Murlocs. And if you're playing Nagas, it's incredibly easy to just use your shoal, use your Wind Fury thing or whatever on the Hydra, and it's a lot better. And one of the players actually did that versus me, where they did get 2 cleaves and they were able to do it. Something less conditional is you get your own Selfless and Baron, and then you still win because the other guy has to run a Ghoul for your shields. So you can run 5 units Selfless Baron, which will beat 4 units Selfless Baron. So
it's annoying.
Both those things, right?
Yeah. I mean,
you got to work for it.
Yeah,
you got to work for it.
I mean, it still feels annoying. Like, I have to run the Ghoul, and then they just kill me by 1 unit.
There needs to be some kind of upside for being bigger, right? If the scam comp was favored, it would be kind of dumb, right? So but yeah, you check your opponent. You say, do you have the knowledge? Do you have the experience? And sometimes they know exactly what they need, and they don't roll it, and you get away with it.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, if you're in the 1v1 and you check their name, you're like, damn, they're a good player. They're probably going to know what to do here. I needed to one-shot them, right? Because once they have a look at your board, they're like, aha, I know exactly what I need to beat you. Or sometimes they can just tell by how much damage you're dealing. You're showing Murloc. It's like, I know what this is. So yeah, they'll preemptively start countering you. But yeah, anyways, that was my experience with the meta, where like the first 2 days were just full or almost full Naga force. And then the last few days for me, I was playing very, very conservatively and I was essentially just farming second places like crazy, where I was okay with that. And then when the Galakrond came my way, and I was like, okay, let's do Nagas, then you take that. But I was just getting second place with Beast, some first place with Scam, a lot of second places as well, where the Scam isn't like 100% yet, and you're just killing enough things to not die, but you're not killing the last guy.
I just try to be the Naga High Roller in every lobby. That's just why Scam. That's we're not gonna just be the Naga High Roller. Like there are some issues with doing that game plan, right? You do have to understand when it's not you. Your Nagas are gonna die. Please do something else, Collins. Like, oh, you're trying to scale, but the dude had Naga set up like 3 turns ago. You're not gonna beat that guy. You need to change before you die. There are some times where sometimes you're just like being stubborn, and you're like, I got the pieces. 3 turns late, but I got him. Let's just continue. But you do have to understand. Okay, time to switch, but. I'm more like, let me high roll, and then did I not high roll? Fine, shady, I guess we'll scab. I'm not leading into it. There are some games where like maybe you'll get early 7, and then maybe that's like enough of a encouragement to commit to it. But generally, I shoot for my 6, and then not it. Okay, bye. Let's do something else. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the formula indeed is try as hard as you can to check to see if you can get the 6.
Yeah.
And then if you can't, indeed,
do something else. Yeah. I think that was the meta for sure.
Yeah, I do like the change we have right now, where I don't love a very high volume of me playing for second. So I think that it's so the flow I like more is where you can level and then be rewarded for being at a higher level, where there's multiple things that you can
do.
Yeah, I think that was in essence the tier 6 gaming strategy.
That's what I did since the game has started. Right, like
Collins' way of life is on tier 6, or whatever tier is most.
Whatever tier is, it's good enough. Sometimes it's 5.
Well, with Amalgadon with Amalgadon as strong as it was for as long as it was in the game, tier 6 was just always very appealing.
And it got better with the seafood edition, like whatever
I remember those first few games with seafood APMing. You were just like, oh, Murloc APM is a thing now.
Yeah. At first, I was like, oh, I don't like this card. But then I've learned, like, oh, this card is actually very good for me. Like, oh, okay. I actually like it now. But yeah. Nagas are, we haven't talked about Nagas post-patch, but, to answer your question, Nagas are still in every lobby. I will spoil it for you. But moving on, right, I think we've talked about pre-patch. Obviously, there was a patch. There were some Naga adjustments. We're going to talk about them. There were other things as well. So it's not just Nagas, but I would say Nagas are like the forefront of the changes. And then there are like a little bit of extra things as well. But yeah, we can just go straight into that, right? So
yeah, sure.
We have a hero change, right? Flurgos gets a change. It used to have after you sell a minion at a random tavern. Now it's after you sell 2 minions at a random Murloc. I haven't played this hero. I personally think that this is a pretty big nerf, right? In my opinion, right? Like the early game is gonna feel a lot weaker, and I think that's important, right? Where a lot of times, right, you'd level and then you'd sell buy a Murloc or 2 Murlocs, right? Now you can't do that. So I haven't played this here and I haven't seen people play it, but I assume it's a lot worse. I don't know if you've played it or not or seen
Without having played it, my opinion right now is that it's probably unplayable.
Okay, yeah.
Which is rough to say, but
and before I'd say this might have become the best hero in the game.
With buddies in, right? Like pose buddies was also
I think this hero is really good.
During the Naga meta.
During the Naga meta. Like you just go scam from the beginning, right? Like you play Murlocs and
just hit the 7 smiley face.
Yeah, you hit the 7, or you get Brand, or the Brand and the 6-drop Murloc was insane, like with this hero. Because you could always like get everything you wanted and you get stats.
I think hero in the game, like you were still going to get pushed away with from Nagas, a lot of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like,
But
they're just
I
a
was saying
lot
like
easier to buy
I
right
was saying
now.
like after the nerf, after like post
Yeah, okay, but
nerf.
that's what I asked, right? Like,
No,
because that was
but it was still good even in the
yeah,
previous meta.
but
But I'm
not best hero, right? But
no, like obviously the best hero was like task scabs. You know what I mean? But like
yeah, no, but I feel like that's what you said, right?
okay,
Like, oh,
okay.
this was the best hero,
This
right?
could
So,
have become the best hero is what I was saying.
all right,
It
sure.
could have
That's maybe
become the best hero. It's
maybe
not
I'm
like the best hero last meta, but like if they didn't change anything, this could have been the best hero is what I was trying to say.
yeah. If Nagas are, let's say Nagas got nerfed significantly, you're like, okay, well, Flurg is just gonna pop off.
Yeah. So it's interesting that they preemptively are, are in your opinion might not be true, right? Like, but there's a world where this can be unplayable now, which is really interesting to say, right? Because they really just don't like minion specific or minion type specific heroes doing very well. I assume because it just dominates low elo or low MMR.
Yeah. I think I don't think they have anything against minion specific heroes.
I know.
Just,
There's no bias. It's just like their stats.
yeah, they just do too well at lower MMR. I think that's probably what it could be, that they looked at Flurg and they said, post Naga nerf, this is going to be too good. But I feel like what we're seeing is just like, well, lower MMR players, more casual players, getting a game plan from the very beginning, it's too strong if the hero isn't also good, because they're just going to outperform people that have to make, like you play a Hook Tusk at 4K MMR. Good luck with that, right? Like, what do you shoot? When do you triple? What do you keep on your board? How do you prevent, yourself from dying and all that? As you play Flurg, Murloc, get the honcho, get the buffs. You're pretty much always strong. You know what to do. You're always, so I can see how it can be frustrating to up against. I'd be like, another Jiraxis, man. It's just
yeah, right. Like that must be like a lot of players' experiences where they're just like, oh my god, they got Jiraxis. Like, like I can't believe it. I'm just like, okay.
There's no skilled Jiraxis player just getting his
free stats
for free. It's too strong. Yeah, and then you take Flurg, which is like an actual good hero,
good one,
right?
Yeah.
And then you put him in that setting where it's hard to optimize playing a Flurg, but you don't have to optimize playing Flurg. You just gotta, as long as you're buying and selling Murlocs and Flurg, you got some honchos on the board, you're good, man. You're good. Yeah. So yeah. I can see it. I think that's probably the reasoning here, that it's too good on lower MMR and they have to do something about
I do think this is a huge nerf, right? Like this is too much of a shotgun. This shotgun approach, I do like that they're adjusting passives, right? Especially now that there's no buddies, right? So they don't have that window. But I do want to see them change passes instead of like, oh, let's just change armor settings, right? Like that's what my fear, right? Oh, they'll just, oh, this guy needs less armor, right? But especially when it's like these heroes already have 40 armor, then it's a lot harder to just say, oh yeah, they already have 0 armor, I can't change the armor. But I do want to see passive changes, especially passive buffs, right, from some of the weaker heroes, especially the ones that were really buddy reliant, I would say. But I do think this particular change is like very dramatic, right, for this hero. Like it goes from being very playable, very acceptable, to now it's like, oh, just another hero I try to dodge. Like, and the more you do that, the less fun the game becomes, right? Because you just keep adding heroes that you just don't want to touch, right? And then you don't remove heroes, and then there's just more heroes that you don't want to play, and it's like, oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that. Not to say that the game is better with or without buddies, but we did say that was one of the huge selling points of buddies. Yeah. You had way fewer heroes that you opened. You're like, oh dear lord. Whereas it's quite frequent that I look at my pack now. I'm like, oh, there's no heroes here. There's legit nothing playable. Yeah. Like where you just start thinking, okay, what has more health, or which hero power could save me a little? You start thinking that way, and that's it's very sad. Where you'd be like, these are like shitty patchworks, right?
Yeah.
Heroes are
right?
shitty
It's so bad.
Like, oh my god. Like you look at an Onyxia now, a Drektar, a Vandar, all these heroes are just, like maybe there's some niche uses indeed for them, but they really felt like they needed their buddies. And even then, like Drekthar with the buddy was nothing
not
spectacular at all. And then, you take that buddy away. He doesn't even have as much health as Patchwork, right? You do have the hero power. Like you do something, but I see him sometimes where people were rushing for Nagas, and I guess they were like making a shield slightly hard, higher attack to try and win some fights. But yeah, like I think Onyxia really stands out.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's so bad.
He makes the whelps, and there's nothing to, like it's just so like awful. So I think that is a problem that, I guess Blizzard faces right now. It's like, okay, you have these heroes that you made that specifically relied on their buddy. You've now removed buddies, which is fine, right? Like we knew they weren't permanent, but then you didn't have like an exit strategy for those heroes.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not even sure if all of them have the max armor. I don't think so.
No, they don't. I don't
think an Onyxia has 10 armor, right? So it's just, you just look at that and say, what the hell is going on here? It's just so awful. So yeah, that I guess that is a thing that would be great if we could see that being addressed now that, we've had a patch that nerfed Nagas. Where can we please, either remove some heroes? Like I don't know if that is possible if we have enough in the pool. I feel like we do.
We have like 80 something heroes, dude.
Yeah, like can we just remove Onyxia has 10 armor as of yesterday. Okay, so my bad. But even then, give me a Patchwork, right? So the it would be a lot more enjoyable if a lot of the heroes that you just really, really never want to see. I'm okay with there being worse heroes. Of course, not everything needs to be exactly as strong. But the pack where you have like the Queen Whack Toggle, the Onyxia, the Direct, the Vandar, it's like, all right, Guff, right? Guff without the buddy is also just, don't want to do that. But it's yeah. Anyways, we don't need to dwell too much on that.
Yeah.
That is a complaint that has been around for a very long time. And then since buddies, that complaint was a lot less, right? Because we saw a lot more variety then.
Yeah, but overall, Flurgo, I'm not playing it. I might play it. I might play it once and see how it feels. If it's horrible, then I don't touch it. But I will give Flurgo a chance. But I probably won't be happy about it. But and the roll has to be bad. I'm not picking it over anything with 0 armor, But yeah, I gotta see. So, but yeah, not a good sign for it. I do think this change a bit heavy-handed as well. Like it's really, really, really.
Well, we saw them moving specifically Cold Light to 4, but that was so weird in hindsight, knowing buddies were going. It's like,
yeah,
why are we moving Cold Light to 4 when buddies are out like a couple weeks later, if that? So yeah, very weird.
That's a good point. Yeah, it looked like they like did some duct taping to try to fix the meta. And then it's like, well, but buddies are gone, and now the duct taping is very weird, and all these heroes are like still just like bleeding out. You didn't fix any of them, like, and it's just like, yeah, well, Nagas are here, like, it's like
yeah, I feel like Cold Light has just no more business being on 4 now.
It's very weird, yeah.
Anyways, I guess we can move to the next one.
Armor changes. I don't like this. What is it? Presentation of the armor changes where I don't know what the previous armor levels of the heroes are. Like it's hard to judge it because it's like, oh, I have to memorize all the armors for every single hero. It's funny because I kind of did that when I was reviewing it yesterday. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this one had no armor. Yeah, but it's not reasonable, I think, to expect people to know all the armor changes and like be able to instantly like, oh yeah, this one had 0 armor before, now it's gonna have 2 to 5. Wow, that's really cool. But also I don't think most of this is that important. Just looking over it yesterday, there wasn't anything that really stuck out to me or jumped out. I do think as we were talking about like the buddies and like and how they didn't like minion type heroes, you can really notice that because look, any Stormcall is tier 2. Any Stormcall, the mech that got shot is tier 2 armor. That's so crazy because I would also say this hero is like near unplayable. Like your passive is every 12 things have to die, you get a mech. Like what? What is that?
It's I guess like with Eni we saw them, you know, printing probably the highest win rate hero they'd ever done. Right?
Right.
Like Eni was the highest win rate hero because her buddy was tier 2, her passive was what, 9 max at the
You
time.
you you
So
you know what that tells me? Like the players at low MMR, if you just tell them, hey, you're going to play mechs. You don't have a passive, you don't have extra health. I'm just telling you, you just play mechs. You'll do better than most of your competition. You have no ability, because that's what this hero is. You don't really have an ability.
well, you do get a mech.
Every like 2.5 turns, I'll give you a mech. Like, okay, a random mech. Like, come on, you don't have an ability. You're just being told, hey, play a mechs. That's it. That's all we're giving you. And you're doing better than people that Blizzard's like, oh, that just telling people they can play mechs is gonna give them such a win rate. I'm gonna give them. It's gonna be a tier 2, armor tier 2 buddy hero. You don't have a passive really. You don't have armor. I'm just telling you, hey, you just play mechs from the beginning of the game, and you're just way better than some of your competition. And that's just how strong being able to have a game plan from the very beginning is. Because that's crazy to me that this is a tier 2 hero when the hero doesn't do anything really.
I think it is. I think it's not that crazy when
it's not that crazy, but like, you know, from our perspective,
it's understandable. I guess is the word, right? So it's understandable. But yeah, in our lobbies, it makes no sense whatsoever because we thrive on having more choice, more freedom. Give me anything that makes more gold and I'll make my own decisions and I'll make these crazy boards. But if you have more beginners or players that are just at a more casual level, if you were coaching them in almost any game and you could give them a strategy, you could tell them how to force it and to, like the same thing in StarCraft, you give them a build, you give them, okay, on this minute, you're going to have this many units and you're going to attack the guy every single time. They're going to do way better than like, just adapt on what they're doing and figure it out yourself and do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that. It's the same thing, if you're playing like Hearthstone or any card game as well. You can just say like, okay, always do this, and then when you get better, you can break out of that because you've learned the game, you've seen what other people do, you know what they do when they beat you.
It's actually hilarious because it kind of screws their stats too, just because of like, the level of the casual people. You could create a hero, right, where it has no power, no health advantage, no ability. It just like the description, the passive, it just says like play elementals. That's the passive, and it's gonna do better than a lot of heroes. Just because, like, you're telling people, like, you need a little incentive to play. Like, you need okay, I'll give you, like, 1 gold every, like, 3 turns, if you play an elemental.
You're more looking at, like, mechs are just inherently more tempo, so I feel like it's just really hard. Like, I feel like a Chen, I'm not sure how well Chen does.
Shen's a little bit weird, because, like, it requires more, like you have to level, then you have to build. It requires more. It's not
but here's where I will say that would be your elemental example, right? Where people will pick elementals on Chen. So I feel like
you can accidentally kill yourself, right, with that mentality, right? It's a little bit different. I guess like you need specific minion types, right, that have inherent tempo. Like play beasts, maybe play beasts or something like that. Or like get a mama bear. Like the passive is like get a mama bear.
Also a little weird because they'll have some hyenas on their board and be with mechs that starts on tier 3.
On tier 3, where
it's awesome. So if you're playing a tribal hero, if you're playing a minion type hero, then you want your good units to be low tier.
There's no beast heroes there.
I don't think there's a beast hero, no, but it would. The beast hero would basically have to stipulate, start buying every beast that's 5-star.
Yeah.
And once
buy 5-star beast. Yeah.
Yeah, buy 5-star beast.
The passive is like if you level like 5-star beasts cost 1 gold. Yeah, exactly. Something like
something
that.
like that.
Yeah.
And
that
they
would be insane.
They would be great because their board would be Mama Bear, Croc, Baby Crush, all the time.
That would be insane. It's funny.
And that will dunk on people. So absolutely. So you do need these very straightforward more builds.
That's so funny to me.
Yeah, I think that's a good handle on how it works. Like the more straightforward the game plan becomes, so if you don't have to worry about your game plan, you can more just worry about the execution. But this game is actually really difficult to, like, we play it so often, so a lot of it for us, we take it for granted. But having to continuously monitor, like, okay, when am I leveling? What am I buying? When am I committing into a direction? Like all these things, if you can take a few of those off the table or off your mind, that you just have to worry about, okay, which mechs am I buying? How am I positioning? Right? Like these things.
It's very true. Sometimes I like go to other people's streams, just like lurk and like just watch casual people play. And I always come away thinking like, wow, the game is hard. Like that's always my takeaway after I watch someone just casually play the game. I'm like, damn, the game is actually very hard. There's so much to do there. And then I'll see them do a turn. I'm like, oh yeah, there's like 10 options like that you could have done there, that I maybe would have looked at, right? And you're just rolling and whatnot. And it's always interesting, right, when you have like all this like years of experience at this point, right, of the game, right? And you're just like, oh yeah, it's very simple. You just level here, you pick this, you pick the direction here, and now you commit. And it's very very simple. But like if you actually see it, like there's a lot to do between each game and decision making and the trees that branch out. And like if you are gonna, like sometimes I do think there's something I notice a lot where they'll pick something and then they'll like meander into something else, right? Where like maybe I wouldn't have picked the thing they would have picked, but now that you picked the thing, at least commit to it. Like, oh, like okay, now you're this. Like you bought the gold, 6 gold here. Okay, now do the thing, right? But sometimes you're like, do I want the Nomi? Well, no, I found the Mama Bear. Okay, maybe I'll sell the Nomi, buy Mama Bear, and then I rolled into this, so maybe I'll just switch, sell one of my beasts here, and now commit kind of halfway here, halfway there. And it's like, okay, just play Nomis. Okay, we're out of Nomis. Okay, just play beasts. We're out of beasts. Okay, just stick to it, please. It's a lot stronger, right? And I do think that's a mistake I see often, just watching casually. Just like, even if the direction isn't what I would have picked, if you commit, you're still gonna do better on average, I would say. So yeah, but
there is indeed. I guess I have two thoughts on that. Where first of all, indeed, what you say, you don't have a lot of leeway in this game. Unless you're like incredibly good and you know exactly, like you sneak in an early level when you have that tank and you're like, I can do this because I have this, but don't try this at home and all that.
I agree.
So yeah, overall you have very little leeway in this game, and people, I hear a lot like health is a resource, but you don't throw your gold away either, so don't throw your health away, right? You'll have plenty of rounds where you're losing it even if you don't want it. So don't throw your health away with the mantra, oh, health is a resource, I'll just take the 15 here. The other one is that it's just a lot harder to play the game if you don't know exactly where you want to go. Where if you have a lot more experience, if you have the roadmap in front of you and you're like, this road can lead to here, and then there's a fork where there's 2 things where, we have that automatically if we play a meta a lot, where we say, okay, we're gonna 1-2 triple into, the 6, and then the 6 can maybe be a coiler, and then it's 5 beasts are in. I can use that for tempo with a crocodile. I can hit an Eliza. I can then look for Tony. I can look for Scallywag. I can hit the Naga stuff. I can do this. I can do that. But a lot of the players, when they're just playing, that they don't have that yet. It's turn to turn. We see what we get in the shop.
Okay, I do that kind of, but it's a higher level variant of like turn to turn. We'll see in the shop,
Yeah, but
I also have the roadmap. Yeah, I also have a roadmap too.
You will know where to go when the pieces show up. Where I feel like for players who aren't that practiced, they just see the pieces and they're like, I don't know, right? So because sometimes our instinct where we'll see a card in the shop and like that's always a buy, and you see them skip it because they didn't even consider that line.
Yeah.
because right now their board doesn't necessarily accommodate that card, but you're like, you always buy that card here. I feel like, like let's say we were in a friend of a friend meta and a brand passes by, like
Yeah, you always
you buy the brand,
always
right?
buy the brand,
You buy the brand. And then there's other examples too, where or you could have a board, you have like some chroma wings and a promo drake on your board, and then 2 mama bears pop up in the shop after you leveled.
And you're skipping it. I know.
Yeah, you're like, because I'm dragons, right? You're like, no, you're nothing. You have some dragons on your board, but there's no Callies. Like, you're not dragons.
Very
by
true.
the 2 mama bears.
I've seen that so often. That's very
absolutely
true.
So that makes the game just a lot harder. Anyways, we went a little
I know. Off the road.
It's fun to talk about that. How do you learn this skill? A lot of it is repetition and watching players that are better than you, because you see them buy something. Ask yourself, okay, why are they buying this? If you can't figure it out, or if you don't see it in their game, just ask them. A lot of the if it's not a VOD, a lot of the streamers are more than happy to answer those questions.
It's very true. So just some things we see. I tend to. I see high level, I see, casual players as well. And, there's always like things to learn from each and things I'm like, oh yeah, they did this. I don't think it's correct or whatever, or they're doing this. That's very cool. I'm always happy when I'm like, oh, they did what I would have done. Like, I don't know why, it makes me feel proud. but yeah, and let's move on. Let's go talk about the changes. Minion changes, Snow Cavalier, it's losing an attack. I guess I'm gonna talk about. I mean, we're gonna talk about the change, but I'm also gonna talk about like what I think about the change. Like, oh yeah, do I think this is good or bad? Like, I actually think this isn't enough of a nerf. I probably would have made it 3 attack. Personally, I think the card is still insanely good, right? Like when you get it early, it's like, oh, you just have a 4/10. Like, if you get the synergy, like, cause you might skip it if you don't have synergy, but if you do have synergy, right? Like it's so good. Like, oh, here's a 4/6, here's a 4/10. It's like it's just so much stats. So I wouldn't have minded like even nerfing this, right? Because when you compare it to like Road Boar or so, right? Like there's risk associated with Road Boar. Some of the other tier 2 scalers, which is like what's the Beast one? The Beast 3/2. Right.
Oh, Carlos K.
Yeah, you have to buy a unit, right, to get the scaling, right? Here it's like you just get the scaling every turn. There's no downside, right? So I don't know. I'm not super happy with the.
I think the one thing to say there, and not that I disagree with you, is that its attack doesn't automatically scale. So there is a lot of diminishing return on having being capped at 4 there. Now, of course, if you are using either gems or bananas or whatever, it gets a lot better of a unit. No, I feel you there. Right now, I don't mind it.
To be fair, like I maybe would have over nerfed it, right? Like right now, it's not like super problematic. But before I went 5 attack, crazy, insane, right?
The thing is, like the people that are playing Nagas, they're not playing this, right? Because they're going really hard on the triples.
Yeah,
that's So when you get Nagat by someone, they have 6 drops. And
another thing about this, which I still would be okay with this being 3 attack, because when you triple this thing, it's so crazy. The stats you gain, because right, the 2 get the buff, and then you triple it, and then the triple spell buffs it again, right? So you get 8 health that turn, right? And then you just have like a 8/16 or something out of nowhere, right? And this is like one of the craziest early triples you can get. Like I see like Varden, right? When Varden triples this thing, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm taking insane amounts of damage. And usually they have like the taunt giver, so this thing is taunted. It's like a 830, or not really. It's like a 820, right? Too early in the game, and you just take the full damage of the body there. So I just think the triple with this is also so problematic that I wouldn't mind this having 3 attack as well. So
I guess my experience just has been where I triple this and then I sell it the turn after because it's not spellcraft.
So your experience has been on the previous meta where you triple it into a 6. and then
So
you're like, whatever.
You're saying like, what if I triple this
Into a 4?
What if I triple this on 9 gold, right? Or 8 gold.
I'm thinking about like the healthier meta. This is a problem.
This is too. No, that I think that's fair. I think that's a fair concern.
Yeah, so that's my opinion on this. I know I've kind of taken the whole slot for this card. Any thoughts on it? Besides,
no, I think I think it's a reasonable thing to look out for, right? So as the meta slows down a bit in that we're not always rushing for 6s, yes, maybe it becomes a little bit more annoying where you just see like, ugh, this person's got a golden snail and it's way too healthy. Yeah.
Another thing, do you want to talk about the cards that weren't changed? Because I mean, it goes from 2 drops and then down, but like they didn't change into the 1 drops. And I also like, if I were a designer, I probably would have adjusted both of
you would
those
have
as well.
Nudged the tier 1 Nagas a bit.
Yeah, I would have nudged them a bit. I would have made them a 2-1 and a 1-2 instead of where they are right now, because they're just so good. At the
Coin guy, being 3-1 is
3-1 is so crazy, right? Like everyone always buys Naga turn. If there's a Naga, they buy the Naga turn 1 because it's better than everything else. Like the
spellcraft 1 is debatable if you have a different.
Now the spellcraft is debatable. Previous meta it wasn't really, right. Like it opens up too many things. But
so it was so bad that I would prefer the spellcraft and then roll twice for a snail.
I did that once, or no, I did that like 3 times, and I never liked it. I would rather have the gold. Personally, I'm too coin efficient. I'm just losing a gold for no reason. Like it hurts me. So I don't agree with that, but I understand it. Like I see the high roll of it. I just think I'll just high roll the spellcraft and the triple. I'll roll Snow Cavalier and the lava or angler or whatever it is, right? And then I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I would have probably adjusted the tier 1. So I thought that it was a little bit weird for me not seeing it. Well, I wasn't surprised, but I would have liked to see it personally. But moving on, Lava Lurker loses 1 attack. What's your thoughts on this?
I guess these kind of changes, it requires you to really think about, okay, how do you play Nagas? To me, right now, it feels like the early Nagas, it might just be this huge bait.
Yeah, they don't do anything. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because so when we were talking, Nagas before, we were saying like, well, not the only one, but like without the Atissa, you don't do anything. Like period, right? Like you can have as many other pieces as you want. Sure, maybe Wrangler, right? Like that's the one that could also buff. But if you don't have Atissa, you're not scaling, and that is the that is real. The real. Yeah, okay, you take over for a second.
Oh well, I mean, I can't like copy your point and just like paste it.
Yeah, just. Right? How bad is the noise?
It's not that bad. No one's gonna care.
Okay, sure.
Some people like children. Did you know that, Shady?
Well, she's currently not as pleased that she's going to bed. So, anyways, to come back to that point, I don't think that I was never really bothered too much by Lurker. It was more Snail, right? Snail being a 5/4 and then just dunking you. But early Lurkers were not as bad because a lot of the time they just had like a lot of HP or a lot of damage, but they just looked weird. They had this weird shape where it's like I'm a 220 or I'm a 16 and 5, and you're like, cool, I guess. Like, yeah, sure, like more stats than usual 2-drop, but it's almost like a little bit of a debate where people like kept investing in it. Like, I have to put the spellcraft minion on the Lurkers. Like, nah, I mean, put the 8 damage on the cleave, man. Like, it doesn't matter if you make the Lurker a little bit higher attack or not. Anyways, so it comes down to it that I think Nagas are played by tripling into 6s, and you can play whatever you want until you're there. Now, if you happen to have a big Lurker with Shoal on your board, that's going to help you a bit to transition into it, but it's completely not necessary.
Yeah. Lurker Shoal though is busted. Like that's not fair.
If you have a board of Nagas.
If you have a board of Nagas, which true, that's not happening as much.
And you got to go sort of all in-ish, because I feel like if you have a board of Nagas and it's not show lurker, then
it's not
just gonna die because there's no more Siren in the this is what we talked about. This something we need to mention here is Siren. We're gonna talk about it in a moment. Is now on tier 5. So if you can't get early Siren anymore, I feel like Nagas don't really have a good early / mid game. They're just nutty in the late game. If you get the Tender, Atissa, and Siren, which you can still do when you triple into 6s, because you're already on 5, so you can just roll into Siren or discover it with the Octopus. But you don't necessarily need a board full of Nagas to then turn it into a Naga board. If anything, it might be, you might see more people just getting baited, having Nagas on their board early.
Yeah, a lot of people that die early are just like Naga tryhards, and then they didn't get the Ithas, and they're dead.
They just like 100%, and then you kind of forced to have like these weird pairs as well, to have like 2 of the 2 guys that give taunt, or 2 of the Myrmidons, like a Myrmidon pair is okay, but like there's a point where you got to let it go, right? And they just go to 5 and then start rolling, and you're like, okay, well, you might not hit it, you might just die.
That's fun for some people.
To me, it feels like Nagas can absolutely be a bait, where I think you need to really evaluate once you've tripled into 6 whether you're playing Nagas or not. I don't think you want to start which is why I think I don't want to play Queen at all right now. I think one of the only selling points for me for Queen early is you could get Siren early. You could.
I actually like Queen. That's funny.
After the nerf?
Yeah. I like it because it's less contested. Because there's less people playing it, so you actually get, like, when you hit, it's like so good, and you can like just guide your way, and it's a lot. You still get to discover, you have a discover chance, right, for Siren. It's not impossible to get a Siren and stuff. So I guess the hardest thing is like popping your passive, right, because you don't have the snail to guide you. You don't have the shoal, right? You're losing 1 attack on the snail. You're losing 1 attack on the shoal. I think the shoal hurts a lot. Where like that's what you were looking for. If you were like full Nagas, like that's the piece.
Shoal Siren. That was the nuts.
But if you are there, there's it's less contested, so you actually just get the piece a lot easier. There's so I actually think
obviously this was one day, right? And
I didn't like Atissa before the patch, but now I'm like, and you got armor too. Like that's another thing.
You're talking about the Queen.
The Queen, Azara. I didn't like her before the patch.
I just want to reiterate, Collins was very happy getting an Atissa in the last meta.
Yeah. Always give me Atissa, But I didn't like Azara. I thought I was like, why am I playing this hero? Like, but now I'm like, maybe
that's very interesting. Okay.
I look at it differently, I guess.
But you do try to have as many Nagas early on your board as possible, or do you just play?
Yeah, I mean, if I can lean a lot, like I'm trying to get 30, right? Like that's number one, right? But like if I can lean Nagas, then I will. Of course, I will. Sure. I'll lean it, right? Because like it's a lot easier to like hero power into the triple and then bam. Okay.
I just kind of find myself being on, like, being in that state where like, well, I have these shitty Naga pairs on my board.
Shady. Next week I'd be like, I hate this hero. So like, don't quote me on this. But that's just that's my day one. I've played like 2 games and I did well and I'm biased, right? Like, so don't listen to me. But
that's fair. That's fair. All right. So we just had the lurker nerf. We touched briefly on the show and the Siren. Is there anything else here? Or?
So show loses 1 attack. I'm okay with this. Mm-hmm. Like I heard someone like, did this need to be changed? But this card is crazy. Like like if you're playing Nagas, this card is so strong. Like what is this?
So compare that to the poor guy that gives Wind Fury. You're like, why are you a 4-drop, man?
Yeah. I would have moved. Maybe I would have made that a 3 or something, and I could see this like being the 4, right? Like if this was the 4,
it's very like the Wind Fury is really like, I've got a cleave or I've got a Manted Queen, and it's like, sure, I'll take the Wind Fury.
Yeah, that's it.
It's so awkward to. Because I remember like day one, I'm like, the 4-drop Naga's got to be okay, right? And then like my second game, I was like, I'm not buying the trash anymore.
I buy when I have double Atissa, so.
Yeah. But
I know. Everyone does. I know. I'm joking.
Yeah.
And then Wrangler, we haven't talked about Wrangler, right? It
Yeah.
became a 5/6 instead of a 5/7. It also gives +2/+1 instead of +2/+2. I actually think
Mhm.
this nerf was justified. I think it's like if this didn't get changed, this might have become like the new Atissa, where it's like I just pump a cleave with Wind Fury, and that's my board, and I win. Like that's all I do. I just
It is indeed like, especially if you have two of them, a little bit too easy to make big units. Where I did see a lot of big cleaves with the Wrangler. I didn't use the card to its full extent when it was +2/+2.
okay. I did.
Yeah,
It was not fair. Really. I there were some points where I'm like, this might just be better than Atissa. In some cases, I was
yeah,
like, yeah.
they're just pumping.
Yeah, well, you get to choose what you're pumping, and you focus
Yeah,
it right, like and
yeah.
even
I still did some of it today. Right, we make a big forward pre, make a
yeah,
big
yeah,
mama.
yeah,
That's not bad.
yeah. I still I think that's gonna be like a game plan, right? If you get this instead of a Tissa and you just happen to have spellcraft and you triple into a foe, I think that's probably what's gonna happen. And then like this is in the shop, right? And you're like, okay, I will pump this, right?
Yeah, one
Uh,
unit Andy it is. Let's go.
so, I mean, if it's a win for cleave, it's a good unit,
Yeah,
boys and girls.
yeah. You're gonna go all in. You may as well go. It's the only one. The only really annoying thing is Leroy, where you're like, "Win for your divine shield." No, oh, it's dead.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
early game, mid game, people don't have Leroy's on
Yeah,
board.
yeah, yeah. And then Atissa also got nerfed.
Yeah,
Where I think this health nerf is huge as well. As well as it only buffing I mean 3 friendly Nog instead of 4. This health nerf makes this pick pretty risky early. Where it's just a 7/3 early. Like even if you get a buff, right, it's a 7/4. That's not a
mhm.
good stat line for a 6 drop. Like it dies to everything, right? Deflect.
We did say that it had sort of like Charlie esque vibes
Yeah.
when Charlie got released. It was like, ooh, you just always want Charlie, and this feels very similar. Where now she buffs one fewer unit, or Charlie went from a 7/7 to a 4/4. Atissa now lost 5 HP. I think
Yeah,
she was a
5
7.
HP. Yeah.
So that's a big hit, right? Like, oh, let me just take 5 health away.
Yeah.
So yeah. Now I like what they're doing overall. Like we could talk about the patch as a whole in a little bit. I think there's one more stat nerf right below
Yeah,
this.
the tender.
Yeah. So
Tenders.
once again, to just say, like, she is only buffing 3 Nagas now,
Yeah,
right?
three
We did
Naga instead of
focus on
4.
the stats. So that is the biggest nerf here, which is buffing 3 Nagas instead of 4. But yeah, the stat line, it hurts. It hurts a lot early.
Mm,
It hurts a
yeah,
lot
it's
early.
really painful. And then tender also loses 2/2 stats on this
Yeah.
thing. Um, I personally would have also nerfed the ability and made it only discover a spellcraft Naga. You can't pull because I think there's two things: the siren procking. So I would have done more. I would have made siren adjacent. I think that a lot of people were talking about that. So
Yeah.
it's only 2 buffs max. You could make the golden one everything, I guess. I don't, whatever. But like, it's gonna be weird because you're not going to be playing for that reality, right?
Or
So,
the siren is one and the golden one is adjacent. just to
yeah,
really like keep it
no,
in
that's a
perspective.
bit much. Uh,
Well, I feel like if you make the golden one everything, the Naga Hero will have a
yeah,
golden
yeah, yeah.
siren.
I guess you just make it buff twice, whatever.
Yeah, adjacent.
Yeah, adjacent twice. Yeah, no need to do that. And I also would have made the discover spellcraft Naga because I think. I mean, Nagas are still in the meta, right? And if you get Tender Siren, right? Like sometimes the Siren will just pull you an Atissa, pull you more Sirens, right? And you're just like you forget they got nerfed essentially at that point. You're like, oh yeah, I'm doing everything. So I would have liked to cut down on that like free win potential where you just get everything for free and you're just like leveling. Ooh, I get 6 gold. Everything's free and then I win the game, right? So I I would have nerfed Siren a little bit harder. Maybe made it a tier 4 if I made it adjacent, right? So it wouldn't. But I mean, even tier 5, it probably would have been fine, right? But um, and then Tender wouldn't be able to pull Sirens and Otissus as well, and then I think you wouldn't see as many of Nagas because I mean, Nagas are still there. It's just less of it, right? So.
Yeah, so that is indeed, so this is day one for us.
Yeah.
So whenever you're listening to us, we've had one stream to to play with these cards. So the opinion is it's very fresh. I think indeed, like the first impression I had was it's not enough.
hmm
But at the same time, when I'm looking around, I'm playing, I'm watching other people play, I see a lot more variety
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
It's way healthier. It's
Yeah, yeah.
so much
So
healthier.
we
Yeah.
do want to point that out. The thing though is that it feels a bit, and it's a weird comparison, but it feels a bit like the Shutterwalk, where instead of putting Shutterwalk in line, they put a damage cap there, where if you run into a good Naga board, you still feel like, oh, I
Speaking of
have no.
Shutterwalk, dude, Shutterwalk just doesn't care, man. I've seen the amount of Shutter
Yeah.
high roll games I've seen is just like, come on,
Yeah,
man. Like,
Shutter is made for this kind of meta, right? It's the high roll,
and the
the
high
high roll
roll
king
king,
almost.
yeah, it's so
You
stupid.
get like 2 alley cats, you're like, it's a
It's
first.
the first, yes.
First. Because not only do you get, your sixes, you get paid for it with the swabbies and the coin collector. It's just shell collector being in every single game is so good for Shutter.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, right. You just get gold.
you can play them without cats, right? You can play them with just shell collectors and swabbies. Right? It's so nutty. You just
You know, I
like I
haven't
had
done that. Wait, oh,
no,
that
it's great. So I've had a Shutter game earlier where I had a golden swabby and 2 shell collectors. So for everything I played, my tier got 4 cheaper and I got 2 gold in my hands. So that's 6 gold, 7 gold if you include the minion. So if I play both my minions, I have 14 extra
14
gold
gold.
after.
Yeah, that's
So you
crazy.
yeah, so even if you just have the one triple, you still just jump the tiers and you're like, "Whee!"
Huh.
So yeah, I think if 2 out of the 3 are in, now obviously the cat is the best one, right? If
Yeah,
you get the
right.
cat, it's much easier to get triples.
Because
But
I
yeah,
all the Shutterwalk players are just nuts, and I'm just like, is it that easy? Because I haven't played Shutterwalk this patch. I guess it is, huh? Because I didn't think about the show collector also just giving you free money too. I didn't think about that one.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's plus a gold every time, right? Because you
Yeah.
get 3 coins total, and then you sell the body for +1. So
That's disgusting.
anyways, to because I feel like I said Shutterwalk and then Collins was like Spiel was like jumped on that, which is fine, right? It's good to mention. Shutterwalk is good in a high roll meta, by the way, guys. Uh, the problem I feel like we still have with Nagas is if you like you mentioned earlier, if you see someone triple into a tender and they pull a siren, which is
From the
still
tender,
entirely
yeah.
possible,
Yeah. It's
it
so
still feels
stupid.
like, oh my god, like you might give someone 2 caligos at that very moment where the person pulls a siren from a tender, and you have to put your money on who's going to get bigger. It's most likely the person that got the
Yeah,
siren from the tender,
that's
which
true,
is
huh?
complete bullshit, right? We're talking 2 of the premium dragon scaling units handed to someone at the same time. Somebody pulls 1/6 and 1/5 drop, and the person that pulled the 6 and the 5 drop is quite likely going to be bigger than the double Cali, which is just crazy to think about it in that way.
Huh. I haven't thought about it that way. And that's
That's
a
not healthy, right?
problem, yeah.
That is a problem. Like we're not talking 1 Cali; they're handed double
Double
Cali.
Cali, yeah.
That
Double
used to
Cali
be
is
enough
like the
to.
nutters, right? Before this
Hmm.
patch, where it's like, oh, you got double Cali turn 7. Like, you pack it
Yeah.
up, everyone else. Like,
I, during the Naga meta, I had a solo top 5 with a turn 8 double Cali, I think. Was it turn 8 or was it like it was like really early?
I
I don't
won a
know.
game with double Cali. Shadir, I won the game. But then again,
Sure.
I also ran double Leroy Mantis Queen at the end. You know?
Oh, you
so
didn't have
so was I
dragons
really
basically. So
was I
I was
really
a dragon. Tom
Jack?
didn't have any dragons in it. Whatever. At least I played dragons, Collins. I didn't sell my dragons for Leroy's, but
Uh,
whatever. It's still something to think about that when they hit the pieces, it's still somewhat unhealthy that we look at that and we say, oh, there is absolutely no chance that I'm going to get bigger than this. And once again, this is day one impressions. So maybe I'm completely wrong about this. But this is what it still feels like right now, where if you get the tender and the siren, you're still in an extremely good spot and your scaling is still just nutty. So what they changed for the most part, because they did nerf the scaling with a Tissa only hitting 3 targets. But the main thing they changed is it's harder to get now. It's harder to get the comp together. But when you get the comp together, it still hits like a truck.
Yeah. Meta Nagas will still be the meta, and probably very, very high percentage of the first place victories. There's just more options to branch out. You don't just get instantly killed if you're not Nagas, right? You can play other things and kind of survive for a while. But if a person does hit the Naga nuts, it's still just as strong. Like everything's not 100 now, but like everything Divine Shield 80/80s is still like you're still gonna win. Like it's not that much of a difference because the only real nerf is the Atissa, right? Like if you hit the Siren, it's still a Siren. It still does the same thing. The only real nerf in like the end game comp is the Atissa losing that one extra Naga. So it's harder to hit. That's true. That's correct, right? It's difficult. But if you do get the like specifically tender into you discover the Naga Siren, and the next turn you like level discover, and then bam, you have an Atissa. Like you're there already. Like your game plan is done. Like the difficult part is over. You just have to play the same game plan. And like once you're in that mentality, it's a lot easier to like pop scale, right? If Quivers are in, right? Gems are so prevalent too. So they solved some of the issue, but the core problem is that the scaling is still too good. I would have liked, and also the consistency of the tender is really good. Being able to discover the Atissa, being able to discover the Siren, being able to discover this glow scale at will is really, really powerful. So I would have adjusted those in the ways I mentioned, right? Tender discovering spellcraft, Siren being adjacent. I think that would have lowered the pop off of the minion. So even if you do get the nuts, it's once again it'd be even harder to get it, right? Because you can't freely get it from Tender. But even if you get the pieces like fairly, their scaling is lowered. So that's the issue. Like Nagas are still like, if you could pick a comp to play every time, you'd pick Naga still, right? And that's probably the problem. There's not really like a free easy answer, right? You used to say, oh, Beast can beat this, and then this could beat Beast, and then this. You know, Nagas are just like, I'm the shotgun. I just beat all the comps. You know, if I have the right setup.
You have Poison Scam,
except for Poison Scam, but we don't talk about that. That thing lives in a dark corner of the world that you only pull out if things are going wrong in the meta. You know. If Poison Scam's like the only way to play the game, then I'm not happy about the game. Like I'm not a fan, you know.
It's what we saw as well when elementals got big, right? It was like, oh well, you got to play poison because element, you know, when buddies were in and people were just making these nutty, you know, you have a Zephyrus hero powering a Nomi early on. It's like, oh, golden Nomi, sure.
Yeah. So, but overall, I moved on to the next topic. We're gonna go back and talk about like the other cards, but Naga's post patch still very strong, still very problematic. They are harder to get, and that's like what has changed in the patch. Nagas are harder to get, so you don't see Nagas everywhere. If you try to force Nagas, you don't hit, you die very quickly. Because if you don't have a Siren for scaling, you don't have any like safety nets, so you have to be pretty confident that you're growing Naga. So because of that, there's more windows for other minion types to appear. So I'm seeing more games where it's not 7-8 Naga players, right? There's going to be like maybe 2 or 3 that actually hit, or maybe one that actually hits, and like one that tries and gets close and dies too early. And then like a lot of meandering, right? I've seen more elementals, I've seen more beasts, I've seen more dragons even, right? So that's cool, but Nagas are still a problem. I wouldn't mind another round of changes personally overall. But this is one day in, right? Maybe later it's more healthier. And as the meta evolves, it might not be as much of a problem. But right now, Nagas are still pretty powerful. Any extra to add on that?
Yeah, I think that you are more likely to die even if you hit now because the stat nerfs do hurt. Um, the tender
Sure.
being a 5'9",
What's
a lot of the
relevant
time.
was relevant.
Yeah, right. Just hitting that early,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
know a lot of games where I fight someone that has the tender, and they just barely don't take damage that turn, and then they pop off, and they just win. So
Yeah.
I do think you are more likely to die even if you hit. So overall,
I
the win
that's
rate
true.
is
I've seen like a lot of people die with like double Atissa. And I'm just
yeah.
like, yeah, that wouldn't happen last meta. Like, yeah, but
Gotta
that
have.
is
Yeah.
true. It is riskier, which
So yeah,
I don't think
I
that's
think
like super healthy, right? Like you hit double Atissa and you're like, oh, I'm gonna die. Like that's not a great feeling. You don't really get that feeling with like double Cali. I hit double Cali, I'm gonna die. Like
yeah,
unless
those are
like
well, it depends on your health and your
yeah,
opponent.
yeah, yeah. But like you don't feel like oh I'm right there, right? You essentially need to be given an Atissa when you're already Nagas, which is a lot harder to do.
I think the triple into 5'9" still just works just fine. You just have a little bit more time because everyone else isn't as fast either. So that's kind of what you talked about, where hey, as long as no one else has the Naga nuts yet, you can just buy it
Take
and
everything,
go.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
I
I
had the
think you
craziest game post Nagas, because no one else was Nagas. I mean post patch, because no one else was Nagas. So literally, there was all the Atissas in the pool, all the tenders in the pool, all the sirens in the pool, and I'm just like taking all of it, and I'm just like, oh, like it feels really good because no one else is like going Nagas. Where before, right, like if it's past turn
so
8,
you're already out of the
all the
pool.
Atissas are gone. Like so I'm like, oh, I can just roll into an
Wait,
Atissa,
so
like.
the game on your YouTube was post nerf or
No, no, no. Okay. I mean, I had a crazier game than that, Shady.
crazier game than a hot?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
That YouTube game was surely it doesn't get much crazier than that.
to be fair, that I might be lying. That
Yeah,
YouTube game.
that was a really. I
Like,
didn't know there were that many Atissas in the game. So
yeah, there might not have been a crazier game.
you were doing okay. Yeah. So for anyone wondering, go check out Collins' YouTube. There's a pretty good Naga game on there.
That game didn't count. It was too free. I was like, oh,
You're just speed running the lobby there.
yeah.
Just knock them out. Another one. Another one. Yeah. No. The the I think that it is a great step in the right direction, and as we said, it is day one, and maybe it is enough.
Mm,
It's possible.
yeah.
It does feel right now that the Nagas still scale way too much when you hit them, but let's give it some more time. Let's see how the meta adapts. I have seen way more strategies come out, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So that is cool. I think in this game is in a great state if you can just be rewarded for leveling and then figure out what you do from there. So you get to tier 5, you get to tier 6, and then there's a plethora of strategies available for you so that hey, I hit early Buster, I can go Buster. I hit it early Cali, I can go drag. And this Bran with the Primal Fin or whatever.
I don't see Buster doing well. That's one thing I've noticed. Like I've seen like Goldred doing way better than Buster, which is
that is interesting. Do you have any idea as to why that might
I
be?
think it's because it's a lot harder to get the right Buster pieces than the right Goldred pieces, where you just like need random meander. Max, but like when you're going Buster, you need the Baron, you need the Divine Shield. Like you can run Goldred without a Baron if you have enough reborns, right? Like you just run it if you have a golden, But whereas Buster, like you need the Divine Shield, you need to reset. Like you need more time to get the perfect Buster
Sure.
setup.
I guess that's the thing.
Yeah, so even though the Buster is like theoretically stronger, you don't have the time to like get every piece.
Goldrun's a bit more smork as well, I guess, because you can just have Mama Bear.
Yeah, and you kill
already,
people a lot faster. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just hit people for 20s. Where with Buster, like
That's
you have 2 deflectos left. Oh, take 12 or 11. Like
yeah.
like whatever. So that might be true. So that's just a small thing I've noticed. Like,
Sure. Either way, we are more towards that direction now than the last patch.
Yeah, for sure.
That's for sure. Now, I don't like too frequent patching, so for selfish reasons, I'd be like, don't touch it for a while. But I can see potentially another 2 weeks where they say, okay, let's maybe tweak Nagas a little bit
A
more.
little bit more, yeah.
But we'll see. It's not something I'm fully expecting. We're like, oh, it has to happen. The one thing to point out is a ton of players are us included really pointed out that the siren proccing Atissa just felt really off. Right, it felt really like this is a bit much. Like surely
I
you
didn't have
can't.
that opinion. So I'll just say
I think we were talking about this. Well, like after it was released, right? Not just before release, because we were talking about it on the podcast, right? Where
yeah. I said that would be strong, but like I don't think it's too much personally. I just think since it procs everything, it's a bit much, right? Like
but
if it was
in its current iteration,
yeah,
right? In its current iteration, it's definitely too much.
I would nerf it. I would make it different, Like so, I guess I agree, but like I don't think it like in essence it's a problem.
That's fair. So I think that might be a thing where that seems to be an interaction they really want to preserve, and that might just make it more problematic to not suddenly put you in this position like, oh, I have a siren, I have a tender, I have an Atissa, I'm going to the moon. Like as long as that siren Atissa interaction doesn't get nerfed, it's really hard to. All right, yeah, we did. Yeah,
yeah. I know. It's because we just started talking about Naga's post patch. I just put the topic in, but we're gonna go back. This is a long one, man. I know. I'm just waiting for the moment where we're done with this.
Let us move back. Then we are done with Nagas. Naga's still good if you get everything.
All right, yeah. We still have more to talk about. So yeah.
There's more. Oh Lord.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh man, this is a long one. But yeah. Also, Dark Gaze got nerfed. So it used to be after you spend 4 gold, put a blood gem on. Now it's after you spend 5 gold, you put a blood gem on. I think this is actually necessary of a nerf. I think if this didn't get nerfed, this would be very problematic. Because I'm gonna talk about Murkai as well. Same thing with Murkai. Murkai also got adjusted. Instead of triggering adjacent Murlocs, now you trigger the Murloc to the left, and Golden is adjacent. And I also think this is justified. So I saw some comments where they were like kind of confused that these 2 cards were getting nerfed. I was really worried that I'd get a patch of full Naga nerfs and no non-Naga changes. So I'm actually really glad to see them addressing this card and the Murkai, because what happened in previous meta was I saw like Dark Gaze comps and Murkai comps contesting Nagas before the patch, like contesting 1-for-1, and that's crazy. It's like Nagas were so OP, and there are comps that could contest stat wise. Like there's a problem there. So I'm definitely okay with both of these changes, and I played both of them, and it definitely. I mean, you feel it for sure, but it's probably justified.
Yeah, I've had games with both of these, and both of them went well. So it's not post nerf unplayable any of that sort.
I played Dark Elder comp 1. I played a Murkai comp, got destroyed by Nagas. You know how it goes.
Yeah, but I can see how the general opinion is like, why would you nerf the things that aren't Nagas? This is so dumb, right? But these cards, they had a lot of potential. I think the Young Murkai one is the one that people are most confused about. But
oh, really? I would say the Young Murkai one is the one that's like the most obvious. It's funny.
I think it's just because I think like earlier on I was streaming and I said like, oh, I'm gonna go Murlocs, and it was someone in my chat was like, oh, so you're telling me that you just want to lose because you're going Murlocs? It's such a tribe that's completely irrelevant.
The difference, the difference with brand and not is so massive.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. I'll see like people will try to force this minion without brand, and it's just like it's not that much value. I mean, don't bother. But with brand, it's quite powerful. So
yeah, I mean, I had a Golden McGurgle being copied every turn. Right?
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, I played for it, right? Like I kept the Begurgle the whole time. Yeah. You pair game a Begurgle 100%. So if it is adjacent, then you're so much stronger. You can have those 2 Begurgles adjacent until you have the golden one, and when you get a golden one, you just slap a primal fin next to it. You farm some money.
I had golden brand, golden primal fin. Couldn't use my cards any. I ran out of gold every time.
Yeah, if you had a server that didn't lag, then that'd be really good.
Yeah. I know. I need a non-laggy server.
Let's touch on that for just a second.
Okay.
Not too long, not too ranty, but for anyone who hasn't been playing, there's definitely some noticeable lag introduced. I don't know if it's input lag or whatever you want to call that, but rolling can be a bit slower. I think earlier today I was playing on my home server. I was playing on EU, supposedly very low latency, although there's probably not a latency issue. But I used my triple and I had to wait a solid 3-4 seconds. And it's, you might say that that's not so long, but you try sitting there for 3 whole seconds when the rope is ticking down and nothing is happening on your screen.
Dude, I've seen so many games of people running out of time because not to no fault of their own, because normally they would get it done, but the game's oh, you have 3 seconds left. I saw someone I'm not gonna name names, but they were doing a long turn and then they tried to open their triple or something, and then all the animations were still playing, and then they just couldn't open it. And they just lose it. And it's just oh yeah. And the same thing with if you're betting with barrel, and spellcrafts, if you're trying to put the spellcraft on, you play your cards and you're still waiting for the spellcraft to show up before you can even press it or something, or your gem. You're waiting for the gem to show up before you can do it, and it's come on, game. I'm trying to win.
I think that's the best way to describe it. You're continuously waiting on the game. You're you have 2 or 3 actions queued up. You're just waiting. You're sitting there for quite a while. It's ridiculous. So I don't know what exactly happened, but there's just some crazy lag issue going on right now.
I saw someone try to play APM Pirates with this lag, and it looked so painful. It was wow, I can't watch this.
You can do it. You can do it. You're just way smaller, right? It's possible. It just hurts. It's normally it's a beautiful experience to watch someone play a good APM pirate game. You're this, but now you're just sitting there it's so painful because you just know how many more pirates they could have bought, how many more cool shit they could have done, but nope, just gotta go.
Yeah, I can't recommend APM Pirates right now. It's sad though, right? It's always a fun comp to play, but but overall, I mean, Dark Gaze, I do think Dark Gaze is good, especially really good if you have synergistic Quellbore. So that's
you get that mainly Agam, right? You get
Agam, even the Ground Shaker as well.
Yeah.
Another thing that's really insane is Duo, right? If you're going full Quellbores, Duo is so. I think Duo's abuse
Well, a bit less because you kind of just get poisoned or Lee there.
Okay, if poisons have to be out if you're going Duo, if you're going Duo,
gotta put the Argus out, right? You gotta put the protection out. But the Duo grows insanely.
It's
fast.
Master of Reality levels of nuts. But that's definitely something to look at. So I do think the card is good. And then Murkai with brand, right? That's the key. If you don't have a brand, it doesn't feel that great. But with a brand, the scaling is nuts. You can contest everything, and really, if done early enough, right? No one can really stat check you. They need a place in former scam. So definitely think.
I think the way to look at it is you were playing Murlocs with brand before.
Yeah.
And there were plenty of Murlocs on your board a lot of the time that could have been any Murloc, right? There was a Swamp Striker or there was a Rock Pool left on your board. So for anyone saying I failed to see how the Murkai is good, is you can have 2 of these on your board and then 2 buff Murlocs and Seven and Bran, and you don't care, right? If that's a young Murkai or not, as long as it's getting stats and getting poisoned. But on top of that Murkai is just producing a ton of value for you. But it is indeed not the right approach to say, I have a young Murkai, I'm going to now pump Murlocs like crazy. It's you do need the brand. That is the key piece.
Yeah. don't get this card and say, oh, I got a Murkai, I'm gonna play Murlocs. No. No, you're killing yourself. You're already Murlocs, and then you just triple into this, and then you're like, okay,
You can try a little bit, right? You can milk a little value with a Primal Fin and stuff. Like if you do happen to triple into this early, but you're not.
Yeah, but this isn't a direction piece, is what I'm saying. It's not like a Kaligos where
the directional-ish, I would say. Like if you already have Murlocs on your board, right, and then
you're fine, right? That's what I'm saying. But like, you wouldn't like.
I'm just saying, like, it's okay to have this on your board without the brand for a little bit, but don't expect to get bigger than people, right? You still need the brand.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's different than Kaligos, right? If you roll like double Kali, you're like, oh, I can switch, right? This isn't. You roll double Murkai, you're like, what do I do with this? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not a directional piece in that sense. Like, you're already kind of semi-committed into Murlocs, and then you pick this and you add it in.
That's a fair point.
Anyway. So yeah. Also, I mean, another thing with Dark Gaze, right? Hoggers are good with it, right? So that's another thing to think about. So Pirate,
if you weren't lagging as much, it'd be great with it.
Yeah, I do think this is slow. Like, this makes your lag worse. Essentially, like the animation of
like it's like wait, everybody look, gems on for units. Okay, you can do something.
They need to do something about that. Like, it should not be that like dramatic or like that intrusive to play these, to put the gem. It's almost worse than a flat tusk. Like, in a sense, like, which you can't like, when you saw this card, you're like, there's no way, like, this makes Hoggers, but like, when you're actually playing, it's like, okay, I have some times where like I'll buy stuff and I'm waiting like 4 seconds before I see the animation pop up, right? I'm not checking the numbers of
you're not sure whether it actually happened or not. You're like, wait, shouldn't have? Like, oh, there it is.
I'm like, what's going on there? So that is a bit weird. They definitely need to like remove that delay, because it just like, if there's a delay to apply the gems, what's the point of it doing it automatically? Just give me my 4 gems, I'll do it myself.
I'll put them there myself. That's too good for Agam, right? Just slam the 4 gems on Agam.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying like, it's just very weird. But yeah.
So let's hope that gets up. We don't want to just
huge optimization is required right now.
Exactly. Let's hope that gets addressed before the qualifier copium. Right?
That's come on. We're screwed. We're screwed. Playing on Asia server with this lag, I know it's so disastrous.
Gonna go in with the good old high roll try, right? This good old high roll try.
And then there's some bug fixes which I didn't talk about last, but there's improved connectivity to Discover. So there was this case with the pre-patch where if you fought a high roll Naga in the late game, sometimes it would just skip your battle, right? Did you get in that situation? I hated it. I hated it so much.
I actually beat a Tess in the 1v1 because I had a taunted Leroy and she couldn't see that I had a taunted Leroy. So like, she could only see that at Leroy, right? But you can't tell it's taunted if you use the taunt. Well, even if it's Argus, she wouldn't know. So she hero powers my board and she sees a Leroy and she's trying to play around it, but like her big Divine Shield unit just went into my Leroy because she couldn't position around it. So yeah, I have good memories of it, but yeah, it's weird. You see, dude,
I'm on the other side. I'm the test. Like, oh my god, what is this word? I can't see it, and it's so like I was like, oh my god, I had this game. I was like 27 health, right? I go in. And I'm playing, and then like, oh, it skips the battle, and I take 8 or something, and then I'm just like, okay, what happened? Like, okay, and then I go in and I do another battle, and I'm like, I take 11, and I'm just like, no, I just need to see the word. It's so frustrating. I won that last game, but I was like so annoyed at the end of it. I was like, I was just like, come on, I have no idea. Okay, do I play a Leroy? Do I not? Do I move this? Like, what's going first? It's just like, you don't know, right? And I'm for sure the high roller Naga, right? Like, so I should be able to counterplay whatever he's doing. I just don't know what he's doing. And it's a small loss, right? It's a one adjustment is all I need. I just don't know what it is. So I was very frustrated with that. that bug. So happy to see that gone. Personally.
Yeah, you could just see the game starting to die when there were enough siren animations going off at the end of the turn. You'd be like, any minute now, it's going to start dropping. It's too much, right? I can't handle it anymore.
Yeah, so
that is true.
Happy to see that bug fixed. Fix the bug where a temporary Divine Shield from Glow Scale could remove a minion's permanent Divine Shield. So I didn't see that bug, but I assume what happens is like you would Glow Scale a menace or something, and then you'd put that on somebody, right? That's what I would guess, right?
Yeah, I'm not, or maybe on a triple or something. And then
Because how do you do? Because you can't glow scale something that already has Divine Shield. Right?
Yeah, so maybe you can have like a Tough Tusk, and like one of them had a shield. Oh no, I wouldn't keep it then, right? No,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so I think it was like you menace a Divine Shield and you put it on something.
It would have to be, I guess, something sort of obscure, right? To kind of slip through like that. But yeah, anyways, if that ever happened to you, it's not happening again.
Yeah, and then there's also a bug where you apply a spell card. So we talked about this to a magnetic minion. Blob's Tavern would doesn't make that buff permanent. So can't do that where you would stack a magnetic and then pump it, put it on something, put it on a Foe Reaper basically.
I like doing that, man.
And I didn't really do that at all. So I was like, oh, good. I didn't. It just helps. It's a buff for me, like because I didn't do it.
I think it's fair, especially with the Naga nerf overall. I think it's healthier that we don't get to do that anymore. But yeah, that was good on tier 4. You get a couple of those.
Really good on tier 4. The archers, it's very.
Pump the menace, put it on Deflector, just like, ooh, free 16 damage on my Deflector. That's pretty okay.
380 stupid.
That's like 8 clunkers worth of damage, man. I guess 8 Metal Tooth Leapers. Right?
Damage, for free.
Like, 8 Metal Tooth Leapers every time I roll a magnetic. Once per turn only, but it's 8 Metal Tooth Leapers. That's okay.
Bit much. So.
The turn where you triple the 4/4, you get to put an 8/8 and 8/8 and a 16 on.
16, I know, right? It's so stupid, yeah.
God, it's completely ridiculous. So yeah, it's good that they fixed that. Let's see what else.
And mercenary stuff, the other bugs don't matter, so I wouldn't.
No BG stuff. Okay.
And I believe one final topic. Yeah, I know there's more. I know you thought it was over.
What? There's more? No.
We do have the groups for Lobby Legend 3. I don't know if it's announced, so if this is not supposed to be already acknowledged, don't fire me. But Monka ban, yeah. But I want to talk about it, and they didn't come back to me, so I'm just gonna do it anyways, and I hope I don't get fired or shot in the head, that kind of thing. But I do think it's interesting just to kind of talk about it, right? Like the thing that jumps out to me is we're in the same lobby, which
Collins, I thought we fixed this last time. Like, NA closes last, so you change it.
Okay, so the problem with that strategy is that people don't always
they don't accept.
Yeah, they don't accept, and then everything shifts.
Man. We got grief.
Yeah, everything just gets shifted. So
maybe someone duo queues and gets disqualified, and it still changes. Who knows? Yeah. Oh man, yeah. This is it's fine. We'll both get out.
Copium, yeah, I feel you. I mean, we'll just do the best we can. But lobbies 1 and 4 are connected. Lobbies 2 and 5 are connected. Lobbies 3 and 6 are connected as well, right? So even if you're looking at your lobby 2, you also have to look at lobby 5. And we have to look at lobby 1. So it's just something to keep in mind. But, there's good players in every lobby, pretty much. So, I mean...
Yeah,
you're gonna struggle no matter what. It doesn't matter what lobby you're in.
When you look at these, everybody's so strong that it's what it really is those 3 games. It's Bob, man. Is Bob with you?
Bob. Yeah. Well, Bob was with me. I just lost the last one. I lost 2 sub 20%ers.
That's also Bob. He controls the fight.
Yeah, I guess that is Bob too. Yeah,
Bobby's rigging those fights. He's rigging
I
them
was supposed
shots.
to win. I was supposed to make it.
Unbelievable.
I can't believe it. Yeah, but we'll do our best, and hopefully we get there. Obviously, we're playing on the Asia server, so it might not be as easy to do the fancy plays or the high level APM that we might be more comfortable with, especially with the lag that's going on. But
Yeah.
I mean, regardless, right? Everyone's gonna try it, and
Yep.
16 players will make it, right? Or is it 16? No, 12. 12 players will make it.
12.
So yeah,
12 out of 48. Yeah.
yeah. So what does that mean?
It's gotta be cool no matter what. The lag is gonna be annoying, but I'll definitely do a little bit more practice on Asia, where
I don't know.
you just have to, you gotta know whether you like how fast you gotta go, right?
Yeah,
Especially
I'm just
if you
gonna
get a
try
Naga.
to not think too much. That's what I do sometimes. Yeah.
But there's certain strategies that you just want to avoid almost entirely, like anything
It's
involving
good.
a hogger.
I already do that already. That's my normal game plan. Oh, you want me to
but like
APM?
even Bran,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
That's
It's
the
not true.
problem.
I don't avoid APMs.
Yeah, like because if you're playing like the problem, like I was playing Asia before Naga
patch,
Patch, so
before
when
Naga.
dongs were still in, and one of the things I noticed is that I couldn't do a transition. I didn't have enough actions available in one turn to sell stuff off my board, play different minion types, then play Amalgadons, then buff those Amalgadons. I simply didn't have an action. Simply did not have enough actions available to me in that turn. Like I couldn't actually play Amalgadons unless I was gradually moving into them. So if I was playing a Flurg or so, I pretty much had to stick with full Murloc, because to do a proper transition on Flurg into Amalgadons, you need to sell some Murlocs, play some minion types, play the Amalgadons, then buff the Amalgadons, right? And that was just, I couldn't do it. So it's almost like you have a Golden Bran, you play like 2 Primal Fins, and you're kind of done for the turn. Like you're not doing, like that is insane to say that, right? Like I've played 2 Primal Fins, and between all the buffs that I'm playing, the Bran animation, the lag, that's all I'm pretty much doing that turn. That's insane to me. So that's definitely, yeah. Luckily, in a very competitive lobby, it's hard to get a Golden Brand, So, we're probably playing some more Tempo Beast or Mex or, Naga High Roll, and then the Naga High Roll is just going to be just play your cards as fast as possible. So yeah, either way, something to look forward to, but give the players a little bit of maybe leeway, right? Like there's going to be some inefficient turns, and you'll know why, because if you're watching their point of view directly, you'll just see it. It's not pretty. It's just seeing how slow everything goes.
Yeah. It's gonna be weird, but it's also gonna be hopefully fun, and it's always interesting. Like I also like even the now like the qualifiers for Lobby Legend 4, right? Like they're starting. There's like maybe a little under 2 weeks left. It's very interesting. You just see all the same names, right? Like I'm surprised, right? Like how consistent like the people are. Like, oh yeah, it's just like, especially the NA names I know everybody, and like in the whole list. Like I just know every single person. Right? I don't have that for EU. Maybe I just don't know the all the players like by heart in EU. But like the NA, like I guess it's because I fight them all the time, right? I just know the whole list. Like it's just,
you're also, sometimes you're just having a look at the rankings, right? Seeing where you are, and then you can't help but just see those names as well.
yeah.
Because I have the same thing with EU, right?
Yeah.
If I qualified there, I'm gonna know all the people that are above me. I'm gonna know all the people that are below me, right? So, or close enough to see, because you need to know, right? Like, okay, who could be a threat here or there if you're playing for the last days of the season.
Usually, I just don't want that to be a problem, but I feel
Collins prefers there's not to be any threats.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting, and that's all we got. This was a long one. Wasn't trying to make it a long one, but it just happened to be that way, right? Like, what are you gonna do?
Stupid Blizzard releasing new content.
Yeah. but yeah, I mean, it's cool. But yeah, that's gonna be it for us today. Thank you guys for joining us. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I don't know what's happening next week, but something's probably happening next week. We'll talk about it. And other than that, send us feedback, HSBG Podcast. But, no one really does that, so don't worry about that, really. This is the same slide I use. I've made I have changed it, and now I have an ending slide, an ending topic source instead of, like, I used to, like, do all the choices, and then, like, so let's say I have, like, 11 topics. I would make topic 12 the end topic, and I would used to do that every time. Now I've figured it out. I just make an ending topic and I just moved it around. It's a lot more efficient. So I've learned. I've gotten better at this. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us, and hope you see you guys. Any final thoughts from you, Shady?
I'm just excited to be meta testing. So we'll be sharing that with you guys next week as we understand the meta, or at least I'll be happy to share that with you guys next week. I don't know what comments wants to do.
I give my opinion, Shady. It's just reluctantly, okay? That's all. I'm very informative, just reluctantly. Gotta have to pull it out of me. I'm not giving it, as willingly as you tend to do, but it's there.
Whoa! Don't tell him about a counter poison scam. What are you doing?
I mean, but really, why are you telling them that? You're making your games harder for yourself, and I just don't get it. You take your wins where you get them, right? That's all. Anyways, yeah. What am I doing today? I mean, I'm gonna cut it here.